Good evening, everyone. I'm Abby Phillips, and welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in time from right here in stunning Hollywood, California. We're smack in the middle of award season, that glittering stretch where the entertainment world pats itself on the back with one ceremony after another. The Oscars are looming just around the corner next month, but this month alone, we've already got the Producers Guild handing out prizes, the Writers Guild doing the same, plus the BAFTAs across the pond and the Screen Actors Guild Awards. And honestly, it feels like they're inventing new trophies every week, not just in this country, but everywhere. Speaking of fresh hardware, President Donald Trump picked up a brand new one today. He became the inaugural, and let's be real, probably the only winner of what they're calling the Undisputed Champion of Coal Award. Yes, you heard that right. This came straight from the Washington Coal Club, a legitimate industry group that apparently exists to celebrate fossil fuels. Trump accepted this gleaming trophy at the White House, surrounded by coal executives and miners in their hard hats. The statue even features a little coal miner figure that some folks say bears a striking resemblance to him. Congratulations to the president on yet another accolade. May our air stay as thick as the loyalty he inspires in certain circles. But let's call it what it is. Another shiny trinket in a collection that's heavy on self-congratulation and light on actual merit. If we're tallying real competitive awards from respected bodies in film, television, or any serious field, his count still sits firmly at 0. The man loves recognition. He craves it. He wants buildings, airports, train stations renamed in his honor. The Kennedy Center, Dulles, Penn Station, why stop there? If flattery keeps him content, maybe we should float a more fitting suggestion, something massive, something that's already dominating headlines, something he arguably earned a spot in more than most of his other wish list items. I'm talking about officially stamping his name on those Epstein documents. From here on out, with full transparency and public awareness, let's refer to them as the Trump-Epstein files. It has a certain undeniable ring, doesn't it? Why not etch his name right on the cover? After all, the connections are impossible to ignore. Just last night, Congressman Jamie Raskin gained access to the fully unredacted versions of these records. He ran a search on the president's name, and it popped up more than 1 million times. That's not a typo, over 1 million mentions in the documents already released. And remember, that's only part of the picture. Millions more pages remain under wraps or partially obscured. For a group that once pushed wild theories about hidden rings and secret cabals, this kind of frequency isn't exactly a win. It raises serious questions that demand straight answers. Now the defenses are scrambling. They're pointing to a single memo from back in 2006 when law enforcement was finally moving in on Epstein in Palm Beach. According to that record, Trump picked up the phone and called the police chief to say something along the lines of relief that authorities were stepping in. Everyone supposedly knew what was happening, yet no one spoke up sooner. That's the exhibit they're waving around like it's exonerating proof. Really? That's what they're hanging their hat on? Add to that Trump's past comments labeling Ghislaine Maxwell as trouble, even evil. Yet under his watch, the Justice Department arranged for her to serve time in a low-security facility that's more like a resort than a prison. And let's not forget his own public statement not long ago. He wished her well. Keep that in the back of your mind when, if, the pardon rumors turn real next month. Today's real fireworks came during Attorney General Pam Bondi's appearance before Congress. This hearing had been scheduled for weeks, but the pressure was intense. Reports swirled that the president was privately fuming at her for not moving aggressively enough against his political opponents. So there she was, facing questions with the Trump-Epstein files looming large. Bondi came out swinging. She launched into praise for Trump, calling him the greatest president ever, claiming impossible achievements crammed into record time. She touted stock market highs, the Dow soaring past $50,000, S&P nearing 7,000, NASDAQ breaking records left and right, retirement accounts booming, she insisted. Why obsess over old scandals when Americans' wallets are thriving? She even demanded apologies from her questioners for daring to criticize the most transparent leader in history. Transparent? That's rich. When names in these files get blacked out thousands of times, transparency starts looking more like selective blackout curtains. The session dragged on for nearly 5 hours, turning into a shouting match that felt less like oversight and more like chaos. Bondi snapped back at Democrats, accusing them of derangement, theatrics, hypocrisy. One exchange had her yelling over interruptions, reclaiming time that wasn't hers to reclaim, insisting she wasn't being accused of anything criminal. It was raw, unfiltered, and at times downright embarrassing for someone holding the nation's top law enforcement post. Democrats didn't let up. North Carolina's Deborah Ross pressed her hard, redirecting from distractions back to the core issues. Why pivot to stock tickers when victims deserve answers? Why talk market gains instead of accountability for enablers like Maxwell? Ross even hoped aloud that Maxwell would spend the rest of her days behind bars, strong words, but rooted in the gravity of the crimes. Bondi clashed with Republicans too. Kentucky's Thomas Massie, who helped push through the law forcing these file releases, confronted her directly. He highlighted redactions that made no sense, names of non-victims hidden without justification. One document listed alleged co-conspirators, yet key figures like billionaire Les Wexner had been obscured until lawmakers called it out. Massie pointed to layers of blackouts and even white redactions underneath. Why the secrecy if there's nothing to conceal? It's the simplest, most damning question. If everything's above board, why the endless covering up? Massie caught the department red-handed on at least one slip, Wexner's name restored within minutes after being flagged. But the broader pattern persists. Even unredacted versions still hide things. Without lawmakers like Massie fighting for sunlight, these records might have stayed buried. Cracks are showing even within the president's base. Reliable supporters are starting to voice doubts. Nancy Mace expressed total loss of confidence in the Justice Department. Lauren Boebert, no stranger to loyalty, made clear she opposes any leniency for Maxwell, calling the current setup disgusting and demanding harsher conditions. She flat out rejected clemency. Marjorie Taylor Greene, in her current unpredictable phase, has echoed similar skepticism. She questioned whether real justice would ever come from this administration, citing direct conversations where the president warned that pursuing certain leads could harm his friends. Not everyone is wavering, of course. Outlets like Newsmax still toe the line hard. One host dismissed the whole affair as a hoax, insisting if you repeat it forcefully enough, it becomes reality. Democrats supposedly fabricated mentions going back years, planting seeds before Trump even hosted The Apprentice. Impressive conspiracy if true, but the files tell a different story. Take one circulated email that got twisted in copying. A message about a new Brazilian, described as sexy and cute, initially misread as referring to a child. The actual text clarified 19 years old, still young, still eyebrow-raising when it comes to importing people for questionable purposes, but legal. It's the kind of sloppy defense that only highlights how desperate things have gotten. Overseas, the fallout hits harder. Officials in Norway, Slovakia, France, and Britain have resigned or faced calls to step down after links surfaced. Even the UK's Prime Minister could feel heat. Prince Andrew's reputation is in tatters. He's essentially persona non grata now. Conventions on dinosaurs, yes, paleontology gatherings, have banned participants tied to Epstein correspondence. DinoCon is enforcing stricter standards than our own government appears willing to. Meanwhile, Britain tightens rules on adult content. Pornhub blocked new UK users to protest mandatory ID checks for accessing sites. No more anonymous browsing for racy material across the pond. Tough timing for certain royals who might miss their old habits.